Once upon a time, in the heart of a misty valley where the mountains kiss the sky, there lived a young man named Arav. He wasn't foolish. In fact, he was smart, perhaps too smart for his own good. He believed that everything in life could be delayed because there was always tomorrow. Arav lived in a quiet town, surrounded by hills and fields, rivers and forests. His parents were farmers, humble, hardworking, and kind. They often reminded him, "Son, the sun waits for no one. Don't waste your daylight." But Arav would only smile and reply, "There's always time, Ma. I'll start tomorrow." And so, tomorrow became next week, and next week became next month. And slowly, the things that mattered most began slipping from his grasp. His studies, his dreams, his promises to others, and worst of all, his promises to himself. One day, news echoed through the village like a song carried by the wind. A great monk had arrived from the eastern mountains. He was said to carry the wisdom of centuries, with a voice that spoke like still water and eyes that reflected eternity. People traveled far and wide to hear him speak. Some came for blessings, others came for healing. Arav, he came with desperation. He waited quietly beneath a Bodhi tree where the monk rested. When his turn arrived, he stood, unsure of what to say. His lips trembled, but the monk gestured gently. "Speak, my child." With a bow, Arav finally whispered, "Master, why am I always behind? My friends succeed, but I stay stuck. I want to change. I truly do. But every time I try, I delay. Please help me." The monk's eyes softened. He remained silent for a moment, letting the breeze pass between them. Then he said, "Let me tell you a story. It is not just about you, but about every soul that believes time is patient." Once, in an ancient kingdom of golden domes and silver rivers, ruled a king known not for his power, but his mercy. His name was Surya. Loved by all, he lived in harmony with his people, and his palace doors were always open to the poor, the tired, and the lost. One morning, as he walked through the village, the king saw a beggar sitting by the temple steps. The man was dirty, thin, and tired. Yet, something in his eyes sparked a memory. The king paused and asked, "Do I know you?" The beggar looked up slowly, and with tears gathering in his eyes, replied, "Yes, we studied together in the same Gurukul." The king gasped. You were the top of the class. You solved every riddle. How did you end up like this?" The man lowered his head. "Your Majesty, I always believed I had time. I always thought tomorrow would be better, that I could rest today. But tomorrow never arrived." The king stood in silence. Then, with great kindness, he made an offer. "Before sunset today, come to the palace. Take all the gold and gems you can carry. It is my gift to an old friend." The man's eyes lit up. He ran home with joy and told his wife the news. But instead of rushing to the palace, he sat down and said, "I'm hungry. Let's eat first." He ate slowly, then stretched and said, "I'll rest just a little." He dozed off for an hour, then 2, then 3. When he woke up, the sky had turned orange. Panicked, he grabbed a sack and ran. But halfway to the palace, the heat exhausted him. He sat beneath a tree and fell asleep again. He awoke to the sound of a temple bell. The sun had already dipped behind the hills. He sprinted, heart pounding, but when he reached the gates, they were closed. The guards bowed and said, "Forgive us." His Majesty's order was clear before sunset. He fell to his knees, sobbing. He had lost everything, not because of others, not because of fate, but because he thought he had more time. The monk looked at Arav and spoke softly. "My son, this story is not just about gold. It is about opportunity. You say you want success, happiness, respect, but those treasures lie behind gates that close when the sun sets on each day. Procrastination is not a delay, it is a thief." Arav sat still, his heart heavy, but in that stillness, something awakened in him, a quiet flame. From that day forward, he changed. He woke before dawn. He studied not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He apologized to those he had disappointed. He kept promises. He did small tasks on time. And slowly, those small tasks built bridges to big achievements. Years passed, and Erev became a teacher, not of books alone, but of life. And every student who came to him heard the story of the king, the beggar, and the palace before sunset. Dear listener, perhaps you too have delayed something important. A dream you've shelved, a relationship you've ignored, a health goal, a talent, a conversation you keep postponing. Let this story be your bell before sunset. Because time does not shout. It whispers. It slips like sand. It gives no warning when it chooses to run out. Learn from the beggar who had the chance to change his life, but chose comfort over courage. Learn from Arav, who transformed not overnight, but by waking up each morning and choosing now instead of later. And remember, 1 minute can change a train ride. 1 day can change a destiny. 1 choice can change everything. So act today. Not when you're ready, not when it's perfect, but now, because the gates of the palace don't stay open forever. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Golden Bell Dharma for more stories of wisdom, compassion, and awakening. Until next time, walk gently, act timely, and live fully. The sun is setting, but you still have time.